The waters of the Mirabello Gulf, off the coast of Crete, are legendarily clear. But here, just beneath the surface, the Mediterranean does not hide its secrets. Instead, it displays them. Stone foundations trace the grid of a forgotten metropolis. Walls, columns, and mosaics lie scattered on the seabed, visible to swimmers just meters from the shore. This is Olous, a powerful Cretan city that thrived for millennia, only to be swallowed by the sea. It was not a myth. It was a home. But what force possessed the power to sink an entire city? This is not a search for a lost continent, but a forensic investigation into a known disaster. The evidence lies in plain sight. A map of destruction waiting to be read. We must determine if this was a slow decline or a single, catastrophic event that erased Olous from the map in an instant. Now, let us open the case file and begin the investigation. Before it was a ruin, Olous, or Olous, was a testament to human resilience and ambition. Its location was its destiny. The city was built on a narrow, sandy isthmus that once connected the mainland of Crete to the rocky peninsula of Spinalonga. Today, that isthmus is gone, submerged, leaving Spinalonga an island. But in its prime, Olous commanded this strategic land bridge, controlling two natural harbors, one on the Gulf of Mirabello and one on the Bay of Alaunda. This was not a quiet fishing village. Olous was a powerful, fiercely independent polis, a city-state that flourished long after the decline of the great Minoan palaces. We are speaking of a period spanning from the archaic and classical eras of Greece through the Hellenistic period and deep into Roman rule. The archaeological record shows Olous was a significant player, minting its own currency, a clear sign of its sovereignty and economic might. Let us reconstruct this lost world. Imagine standing on the Acropolis of Olous, looking out over the Gulf. The harbors below are crowded with merchant vessels, their sails full. They arrive from Rhodes, from Egypt, from the wider Aegean, carrying amphorae filled with wine, oil, and grain. In return, Olous exports its own goods, perhaps textiles, or the famed purple dye harvested from the murex shells abundant in these waters. The city itself hummed with life. Ancient texts, including Pausanias, speak of it. We know of a major temple dedicated to Britomartis, the Cretan sweet maiden goddess often equated with Artemis. This was a center of regional faith. The city's wealth was not just in its harbor. It was etched in stone. Excavations and the submerged ruins themselves reveal a sophisticated urban plan. We see paved streets, remnants of public buildings, and the foundations of houses that once held families, workshops, and markets. One of the most significant finds from the area, now in the museum at Agios Nikolaos, is a decree detailing an alliance between Olous and Rhodes, further cementing its status as a diplomatic and commercial force. Yet this prosperity was built on precarious ground. Olous existed in a state of geopolitical tension, most notably with its powerful inland rival, Lato. The two cities vied for control over territory and resources. But the human conflict, the treaties and the rivalries, all unfolded under a far greater and more impartial threat. The Eastern Mediterranean is a hotbed of tectonic activity. The island of Crete itself is the product of immense geological violence. Sitting on the edge of the Hellenic Arc, where the African plate grinds relentlessly beneath the Aegean Sea plate, the entire island is being pushed upwards on its western side, but here, in the east, the land is slowly, menacingly sinking. This process, known as subsidence, is usually measured in millimeters per year. The people of Olous would have been oblivious to this slow-motion geological clock. They lived, traded, and built their world on a foundation that was, unbeknownst to them, fundamentally unstable. They feared their human rivals, but the true enemy was the earth beneath their feet, an enemy that was about to deliver a blow of unimaginable scale. The ruins of Olous are not a mystery in the traditional sense. They are a crime scene. The victim is a city. The challenge for our investigation is to separate the cause of death from the slow march of time. Was Olous gradually claimed by the sea over centuries, a victim of the slow, natural subsidence affecting eastern Crete? Or was it a rapid, violent event, a geological homicide? To answer this, we must first identify our prime suspect. On July 21st, 365 AD, a seismic event of almost unimaginable power occurred. Centered near the western coast of Crete, this was not merely an earthquake. It was a megathrust earthquake, a rupture of the Hellenic subduction zone. Modern geological estimates place its magnitude at 8.3 or higher. It was an event that shook the entire eastern Mediterranean, sending a catastrophic tsunami that ravaged coasts from the Levant to Alexandria, where ships were reportedly carried onto the roofs of houses. This is our case zero. The Roman historian Ammianus Marcellinus described it in terrifying detail. The solid frame of the earth shuddered and trembled. The sea was driven back, and its waters flowed away. Great masses of fish were discovered. The abyss of the deep was revealed. But the most compelling evidence, the geological fingerprint, is what this earthquake did to the island of Crete itself. The tectonic plate didn't just shake, it tilted. When we investigate the western end of the island, at sites like the ancient port of Phalasarna, we find the smoking gun. The 365 AD earthquake lifted the western coastline out of the water by an astonishing 6 to 9 meters. The ancient harbor, its quays and mooring blocks, now sits high and dry. A rocky fossil stranded hundreds of meters inland. This upward thrust in the west had a devastating reciprocal effect in the east. If the west of the island was violently levered up, the east, where Olous was located, was pushed down. This is the mechanism for the disaster. Our investigation shows that the city of Olous, built precariously on its sandy isthmus, was on the losing end of this colossal geological seesaw. Now, we must analyze the ruins themselves. When we examine the underwater plan of Olous, we are not looking at a jumble of debris consistent with a violent earthquake's ground shaking. We do not see the chaotic piles of stone that would result from buildings collapsing in on themselves. Instead, we see something far more chilling, a coherent city plan, submerged intact. The foundations of houses, the lines of streets, the outlines of public squares, they are all present, as if a blueprint had been laid on the seafloor. This archaeological evidence is critical. It tells us the city was not shaken apart. It sank. The ground liquefaction and subsidence caused by the 365 AD event would have been catastrophic. The narrow isthmus supporting the city already low-lying, would have simply given way, dropping several meters in a matter of hours, or perhaps even minutes. This explains the state of preservation. The sea, which was the city's lifeblood, became its coffin. It flooded the streets and buildings, not as a destructive tsunami wave, but as a relentless, rising tide as the land itself sank beneath it. This rapid inundation protected the city's foundations from the millennia of wind, rain, and human quarrying that leveled so many other ancient sites on land. Further corroborating evidence comes from the surrounding area. Olous was not an isolated victim. Other ancient sites along the Mirabello Gulf show similar signs of catastrophic subsidence, all pointing to a single, massive displacement event. The evidence is no longer circumstantial. We have a culprit, the 365 AD megathrust earthquake. We have a clear and geologically sound mechanism, tectonic tilting and subsidence. And we have a victim, Olous, whose underwater ruins perfectly match the profile of a city that sank suddenly, rather than eroding over time. The investigation reveals a fate more terrible than simple destruction. The citizens of Olous who survived the shaking would have watched, horrified, as the sea, their source of wealth and connection to the world, rose to claim their homes, their temples, and their streets, burying their world under a shallow, crystalline tomb. The case is not about if this city was destroyed, but how. The evidence is clear. Olous was not just shaken, it was drowned by the solid earth itself. The case file on Olous is, in the end, unambiguous. Our investigation confirms the city was not the victim of a slow, creeping sea level rise. It was a casualty of a single, violent, geological event. The evidence is conclusive. The 365 AD megathrust earthquake, which simultaneously lifted western Crete high and dry, plunged the eastern coast into the sea. Olous did not crumble. It sank. The city's foundations, its streets, and its public spaces were dropped, intact, into the shallow waters of the Gulf. This verdict gives Olous its unique and haunting legacy. This is not a mythical continent lost to the abyss, nor is it a land-based ruin slowly eroded by wind and time. Olous is a visible ghost, its entire urban plan still legible just beneath the surface. It exists in a liminal space, neither land nor deep sea, but a shallow water world that bridges our own and the one it lost. Its rival, the mountain citadel of Lato, offers a stark contrast. Lato is a ruin of the air, its stones bleached by the sun. Olous is a ruin of the water, its stones veiled by the gentle currents of the Mirabello Gulf. Today, swimmers and snorkelers glide over its walls. Tourists in glass-bottomed boats trace its submerged avenues. This profound accessibility is what makes Olous so compelling. It is not an archaeological site that must be excavated from the earth. It is one that we can simply float above, suspended between two eras. We are looking at a snapshot of catastrophe, preserved by the very element that destroyed it. The shallow, clear water acts as a lens, allowing us to gaze directly into a moment of profound geological change. We can see the instant the isthmus failed, the moment the harbors were inundated, and the day a thriving Roman Cretan polis was transformed into an underwater monument. Olous serves as a powerful, physical reminder of the immense and impersonal forces that shape our planet. It demonstrates that history is not just a human narrative. It is a geological one. The city's inhabitants built their world on a coastline they believed was stable, unaware that they lived upon a tectonic fault line, a fracture in the very skin of the earth. The story of Olous is not one of a search, but of a recognition. The city was never truly lost. It was merely recontextualized by the sea. Its fate, sealed by the Earth's tectonic fury, reminds us that the foundations we build upon, of stone, of society, of civilization itself, are often more fragile than they appear. The case file on Olous is a poignant lesson in geological time. A permanent record, a single day when the world tilted and the line between land and sea was irrevocably redrawn.